Hey, welcome to another Matt Reacts. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Yes, I'm one of those old school guys that still say Merry Christmas. I don't think it's offensive. I don't really care what somebody wishes me as long as it's well wishes. I'm pretty happy to receive it. So I wanted to talk to you about something that is kind of near and dear to me. For those of you just coming here for the first time, welcome, first off. I am Matthew. I worked as a paramedic for close to 17 years and retired not in the way that I wish I could have. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder in 2017. Had to take a step back from the ambulance life. But it is still very much something that is a part of me. It's still something that I'm very passionate about. It's still something that I talk about quite frequently. If you come to this channel, you can expect a lot of videos to talk about first response, paramedics, and things like that. I came across a video that I want to talk to you guys about. We're going to watch it together and react to it because I think it shows a really clear picture of the uniqueness of this profession and what paramedics face every day. So we're going to take a quick look over at that. And yeah, let's react to it together.
Sudbury Paramedic Services is taking steps to address staffing challenges. Although it is fully staffed, 20 first responders are off right now because of occupational.
And, you know, 20 sounds like a lot, and it might be a lot for a service like Sudbury. Sudbury, I think later in the video, it talks about how they respond to about 37,000 calls annually, which is a lot. The services, like other big city services like Toronto, Edmonton, Vancouver, they deal upwards of hundreds of thousands of calls annually. And you could suss this information out. It's all out in the public domain. But the 37,000 per the paramedics that are off right now, 20. So when I was working back in Edmonton, we had anywhere from 41 to 45 ambulances running per day. And so we had 45 ambulances running on the high end. On the median end, I would say anywhere from 39 to 40 to 42 ambulances per day. And we would respond to over 100,000 calls annually. So piece that together as you will. These guys are running their tails off, essentially, in this service here.
Stress injuries. CTV's Alan Everson reports.
Greater Sudbury Deputy Chief Paul Kadwell says, like several paramedic services across Ontario, there are staffing challenges due to the impacts of the profession.
Due to the impacts of the profession, this is something that is not unique to Sudbury. This is something that is ubiquitous across paramedicine. It is everywhere in the paramedic field, and it is, like I said, it is not something that is unique just to the Sudbury area. The Ontario Paramedic Service as a whole, and they're not governed by one service. They're all their own separate services in different jurisdictions. But paramedics in Ontario are very, very highly trained. Very, very highly trained. Among the very best in this country, if not the best trained paramedics in the country. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I was trained here in British Columbia. I have a soft spot for BC and BC paramedics. Spent a lot of my time out in Alberta. I understand that Alberta has good schooling systems, but Ontario and the speed and the fluidity at which they do things and adapt to things really is kind of second to none. So the impacts of the job, again, are something that every paramedic across every service can really relate to when you talk to other paramedics and first responders.
He points to a study by the Ontario Association of Paramedic Chiefs.
Did a study across the province to get a sense of how many paramedics were off due to occupational stress injuries, and that number came back with on average 1 out of 10 paramedics are off due to occupational stress injuries.
1 out of every 10. Imagine that for a second. One out of every 10 paramedics is off due to occupational stress injury. That is an excessively high number within the field. Any sort of staffing that you have going on, that you're trying to account for, that's huge. That is a massive amount of resources being overtaken by mental health and by job stressors. 1 out of every 10, and this is probably an Ontario study. that was just done throughout Ontario. But he does state later in the video, maybe even right after this, where that it does kind of align with what they've seen federally as well. But I would say that number is probably even higher in other jurisdictions, in other places like Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, the big cities, Calgary as well. I would hazard a guess that you would find more. There was a CBC documentary that came out a number of years ago, and I think it was called After the Sirens or Beyond the Sirens, I think. And it talked about, it followed like 5 or 6 different paramedics and talked about their stories and a sense of where they had come from. And basically what they had discovered along the way was that 1 in every 4 paramedics suffered with some kind of mental health and or post-traumatic stress injury like symptoms. And it's an incredibly just sobering number. That's crazy.
Injuries. And that aligns with what we're seeing within our paramedic service here.
Kadwell says there are various reasons for these occupational stress injuries.
Well, it could be anything from the types of calls that they're experiencing, also just their workload that they've also experienced.
Within the service, there are currently 10.
The one thing that he didn't mention there that really contributes a lot to stress injuries, in my opinion, management. You can have some really, really crappy managers that really do impact you negatively. And sorry, I just got a notification. It sent me off there. Oh, that tripped me out for a second. Talking about this stuff and then hearing noise like that. Oh, okay. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Management, right? You can have some really toxic managers, people that are stressing you, pushing you to get back out on the road. They don't really look at you as a paramedic person. They look at you as a paramedic resource. And what I mean by that is you could be run off your bag all night and have no time, haven't had stopped yet, haven't had lunch, barely logged into the computer when your shift first started. Just run, go. And they will still harp on you about getting out the door to get to the next one because there's calls holding and you can worry about your paperwork later, even though paperwork is the lifeline of protecting a paramedic's butt. It's a COIA, cover your ass thing. Paperwork is not something that you can just do later. It is something you have to do at the time because you lose things. For me, a story I can point to in this was that I had gone to an assault call a number of years ago, and it was a lady who was beaten very, very badly by her spouse. He grabbed a travel mug and basically just caved in her face. She was very, very beaten and battered when we got there, very, very intoxicated. And he was subsequently arrested, of course. We dealt with the female and her injuries, and about a year, maybe 2 years later, I ended up getting a subpoena to go to court to testify for this event because it was finally going to trial. The notice, when it told me about the case, it gave me the case file and all this stuff, which was irrelevant to me because, our case file numbers is different from their case file numbers, meaning police, and courts as well. And so I look at this thing and I'm reading it and I was like, man, this is like a generic assault. This is every assault that I got. Travel mug isn't something that is incredibly unique to just that one assault. So I had no idea what call this was for. I had no idea, and I was being subpoenaed as a witness. And so I had put in a request to get my PCR, which is a patient care report, so I could read through it and familiarize myself with what had happened. And had I not had the time to properly go through that report and write down the things that I had to write down and do the things that I had to do, had I, been run out the door by one of my managers, this really could have come back to bite me very, very hard and have some really real world implications. And so one of the big stressors that paramedics face, it really is dealing with management. Management is one of those really big stressors that we deal with. And I don't think enough awareness and I don't think enough conversation had about that, because I mean, obviously managers don't want to come out and be like, hey, we're the problem. And I'm not saying this guy right here on the news is the problem. I highly doubt he is. He seems like a pretty switched on paramedic. He seems like a guy who cares, just based on how he's talking and the language he's using. But yeah, management is another really big contributing factor to why paramedics are off work in droves.
Staff enrolled in the Advanced Paramedic program at Collège Boreal.
One of the issues that we have in our service is the advanced care paramedic level. Over the past 5 years, we've seen a decrease of 18%. We have competing priorities with other agencies such as Orange and neighboring municipalities.
Greater Sudbury Paramedic Services says it attends job fairs for recruitment and is working on improving wellness for employees over the long term.
Which is good to hear. You need to invest in care for your employees, because these are human beings doing a really extraordinary job. I mean, if you look at just this scene right here, these guys are on the side of a highway, traffic still going by. You could see a damaged vehicle off to the side over there. Minimal damage, really, comparatively to a lot of the stuff that we come across. But this is our office. This is our work environment. Firefighters, at least back where I worked, they called us ditch doctors sometimes as a sort of a pejorative term, but it's not far from the truth. I mean, we do spend a lot of time in ditches and knee deep in things that we don't want to be knee deep in. So it's a very unique profession. It's a very unique job. It's a very unique office. And you do need to have very unique care for those people. You can't just expect them to be resources. These are people, not resources. And you need to manage them accordingly.
We currently have within our service, we're piloting a wellness coordinator position, which we have seen great benefits. And during the 2026 budget process, we are bringing a business case together to make that permanent.
That's awesome. A community care coordinator or paramedic care coordinator. That's really, really awesome to hear. I don't know what that entails, right? It doesn't really go into what that looks like. I hope it looks like somebody who can advocate for getting paramedics more access to resources without having to go through as many hoops and hurdles to get there. Back when I was working, when I needed to go see a therapist or when I requested to go see a therapist, the service paid for 3 sessions, which in my view is still, it's generous, right? Anytime somebody's willing to pay for anything for you, it's very generous. It's not enough. 3 sessions is barely enough to get to know if you're comfortable even talking to this person, because it's not as though you can walk into an office with a therapist, no matter how skilled the therapist might be, and just start telling them the deepest parts of you that are aching and in pain, and the things that you've seen and things that you've come across, the things that your hands and knees and toes and everything have touched, blood that you've swallowed, et cetera, et cetera. These aren't easy things to talk about. And so it requires a very unique approach, and it requires a very unique person to be able to parse through what a paramedic or first responder is saying to get to the real root of what this person is trying to say and to help them say it. And so I hope that that's what this resource is. I hope that that's what it looks like, because that would be truly invaluable. And it would be so cool if that is the case, because then we could use that as a roadmap for other paramedic services.
Right. That position permanent.
The service says despite 20 paramedics being off, it is fully staffed with a total of 190 part and full-time community, primary, and advanced care paramedics. The service area they cover is 3,200 square kilometers, with an average of 32,000 calls a year. Alana Everson, CTV News, Azilda.
So there you go. Yeah, that's how many calls they go to a year. That's only subject to change in the increase, I would argue. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that because, I think anytime that there is highlight brought to paramedics and the things that paramedics do, it's important to discuss. It's important to talk about, because there's not always enough awareness out there for what paramedics do. Paramedics it's still a very mystifying profession. It's still very much a misunderstood profession. There's the moniker of ambulance driver. There's the conflation with firefighting, right? They think a lot of times the firefighters do what paramedics do, and paramedics are attached to fire, et cetera, et cetera. That's not the case. Paramedic is its own very unique profession here in Canada. It's a little bit different in the United States, and there is some arguments to be made for combining fire and EMS services, even if just for logistical and monetary purposes. But not every fire service wants to have paramedics attached to their service, and not every paramedic service wants to be attached to a fire service or to be fire trained. So there's a lot of nuance to it, and it's something to be discussed. And any time that I see stuff like this, I want to talk about it and highlight it because I think it's important to have these discussions. So yeah, there you have it. Some food to gnaw on for a little while. If you have never been a first responder or a paramedic now, hopefully you'll have a bit of an understanding of just how stressful this job really is and how unique a profession it is and how special these people are that do it. And if you are a paramedic right now and you've come across this video, Merry Christmas to you and to your family. And I hope that you and yours are doing well and that you are safe and happy. Get home safe, warm, and I hope you're able to at least stop for a coffee. Take care. We'll see you the next time. Matty Reacts.